What's up? It's your boy Asmongold. I was on MMO Champion a bit ago, and I was reading some stuff about how, like, Warcraft is losing subscribers and, a bunch of stuff like that. And I figured I would kind of give my take on it because I've been playing World of Warcraft since 2006, and I've been playing the Warcraft series since about 2000. Oh, what a joke. 1996. 1996 I've been playing the Warcraft series. I remember when Arthas wasn't even born. Um, that was really kind of silly. Anyway, uh, this isn't really about like the Warcraft series progression. This is more about the individual dynamic features of World of Warcraft that have changed and what that change has meant to player involvement. Now, to look at why Warcraft was successful and then compare it to now is kind of hard to do because of the two time periods. In 2004, and I started playing in 2006, and this is 2013, and I started playing in July. This is July. Um, so that makes 7 years for me that I've played the game. And I think that I can tell a little bit that, maybe I am getting tired of some aspects of the game. But to be honest, if I could hit a rewind button and go back to Wrath of the Lich King, I would do that. And I asked myself, why is that? The new expansion has all of these really great things. I used to really do a lot of achievements. I still have like 20,000, almost 20,000 achievement points now. But I used to be in the top 10 in the world. And then I think it was like number two and number three in the country for a little while, like right after we killed Heroic Deathwing in my guild. And so I'm not exactly a casual player, and I never really have been. And I've always played the game a lot. I was a hardcore raider in a 5 night guild during Burning Crusade and also Wrath of the Lich King. And I have to wonder, why is it that the new raids and everything, it just doesn't really seem as rewarding. And I want to say one thing with achievements, and this is very specific to achievements. The reason that I don't do achievements anymore is because achievements are an insult to the player at this point. Collecting 20 of a solved, what's it called? Archaeology item, collecting 20 of the same thing is not fun, it's just repetitive. And this whole idea of repetition and things that you have to do every day and all that stuff. I'm not just talking about dailies. Like I thought the Isle of Caldanis was great whenever they brought it out. And the new Isle of Thunder is really great. I mean, it's fun. I enjoy it. But there's this critical element that's missing, and I think the element is what they've actually been trying to get rid of, but at the same time is what kind of keeps people involved with the game, which is the pursuit. A lot of people, the only time I really felt like quitting World of Warcraft was in Season 3 in Burning Crusade, when I had acquired every single piece of PvP gear. I got my Season 3 shoulders, from like a 2,000 rating or whatever. I had every single piece of gear. There was nothing I could improve. That was it. And, I asked myself, why do I log on? Why am I logging on every day to sit around and run around? And it was fun to do a little bit of PvP, and, I would beat almost everybody. But at the same time, it just wasn't really that great. The difference between how I felt then and how I feel now whenever I have all the gear is that even getting the gear seems like a bit of a chore. you know. I just say chili, so yeah. Getting into gear seems like more of a chore than a reward. Um, because you can't use raiding gear for anything really outside of raiding, like it doesn't really matter how good your gear is, as long as you can kill the bosses. Uh, Heroics are a joke. Challenge modes don't require gear. LFR, the bosses die automatically. Um, how many instances in World of Warcraft do you actually use the gear that you raid with outside of raiding? And so it's a means to a means to a means. And it's the same thing with PvP gear. You can't actually use PvP gear to do anything else except for PvP. In Burning Crusade, you could use PvP gear to fill slots that you didn't have PvE gear. Obviously, PvE gear was superior, but the PvP gear was still very competitive. I remember I did a pre-nerf Brutalis in easily 3/4 PvP gear, and I actually did pretty well on the fight. I'll DPS people as an arms warrior, and anybody that knows anything about that, that's pretty bad on their part. Honestly, not I'm amazing. It's just people who were stupid. But anyway, getting back to what I was saying, is that this idea of a reward, and I I don't know, like a goal. Like in Wrath of the Lich King, I'm gonna say right now, what do I think is the best time in World of Warcraft? Like the best period of time within the game. It's Wrath of the Lich King. Um, I would say that Wrath of the Lich King is the best was the best expansion. For a number of reasons. The main reason is that it allowed pug raiding to become a very uh, common occurrence and allowed people to play with people that they'd never met. And a lot of people are saying that the subscriber count doesn't really affect them. Whatever. Um, Functionally, no, not really. It doesn't. But you play World of Warcraft to be in the World of Warcraft, and when there aren't really that many people playing, it's not a World of Warcraft. It's a server of Warcraft, and I think that's why people are concerned with the subscriber numbers, and also to reinforce their own opinions that they're not satisfied with the game. And I think that in a lot of ways I am satisfied with the game, but in the 3 or 4 core aspects of the game that I really love to do, those are not being met. The first aspect of that is ease of gearing alternate characters, like alt characters. Uh, if you want to say that gearing is easier now than it was in Wrath of the Lich King, you're fucking retarded. Because heroic scenarios, or not heroic scenarios, heroic dungeons used to give 150 Valor as soon as they implemented the dungeon finder. And whereas now they give 80 for the first one, and even with the buff from doing it on your second character, you're still only getting 120. And so it kind of forces you into either repetition of doing the same thing, like the same dungeon, or the same set of dungeons, ad infinitum. Well, not ad infinitum, but let's see, it gives 120, so you need to do it at least 9 times. Almost 8.5 times. And where is the fun in that? Where is because there's no challenge, it's just a chore. I don't think anybody is going to sit here and tell me that heroic scenarios or heroics, or even really heroic scenarios, are hard to do. Heroic scenarios, however, are, I think, a very good idea because it forces players to interact with each other. Now, when I think about my best times in World of Warcraft, what were the best times? Best times. For one, I was in the same guild from 2006 to 2011. And so you can imagine that I have a lot of experiences with those people that I played with, and so a lot of these the best experiences are, or best memories or whatever, are revolving around players. They're revolving around players. They're not revolving around game events. I'm pretty sure if I was around for the opening of AQ, that would be one. The zombie event, I remember before Cataclysm, I think, came out or something like that. There's a zombie event. Maybe it was level 70. I don't remember. And like everybody in the town was dying, and it was like pretty funny. I remember that. That was really fun because it was just so ridiculous. But it was that really what made me log on to the game? Do I log on to the game to raid, or do I log on to the game to raid with my friends? Now, the to play with my friends, not raid, because it's different. Um, I really love to do ICC because ICC pug runs, because you got in there and you were in vent and you're stuck with these 24 other people, and one person is talking through an Arnold Schwarzenegger soundboard, another person is like screaming and yelling, another person can't keep their mic not cued, and so like you hear like dishes being washed and screaming children, and the raid leader's yelling at everybody, and the Deathbringer's will gets ninja'd, and I mean, it's just fucking bullshit. And at the end of the day, that's what I remember about the game, and that was really fun because it's like I was thinking about this. Now I went to Taco Bell a week or two ago. No, a week or two ago. I've been at Taco Bell 3 times this week, but I actually went inside the store a week or two ago, and I was sitting there eating my nachos, and I was thinking about the little sayings that they have on the sauce packets, and if this was Wrath of the Lich King, I would be thinking about when I'm going to do ICC, what I'm going to do in ICC, what loot I want from ICC. Maybe I can do TOC2, get a GDKP run. I hope the gold doesn't get ninja'd. And, I think to myself, I'm thinking about sauce packets. Like, isn't it a sad day when sauce packets are more interesting than World of Warcraft? You got to think about it. Flex rating. Flex rating is supposed to be the solution to people wanting the ICC 10 feel back. It won't be. And I'll tell you why. Because it doesn't force you to do things that are not convenient. The inconvenience of WoW is what bred the dedication to it. It's a good thing I took a sip because I didn't know what word to say before I did. Is the dedication to the game. It's about not always having the right comp. It's about well, we only have 23 people for this raid, and we have this one guy who is obviously Chinese. Like, I don't know how we can communicate with this person at all, but we're going to have to bring him because we've only got 23 people for this raid. Right, Cruel Slayer, or, anything back in the day. And, like Portuguese, like there's a bunch of Brazilians on my server. That was a nightmare. And the having to deal with things that are not optimum is really what makes the game unique. And having to find the 25th person, there's a lot to be said for that, and I think that flex trading isn't really going to address that. Yes, it will be a minimum of 10 players, but it's just, I'm going to get all my friends and go. Well, eventually your friends quit, and if you're only playing with your friends, you'll eventually quit too, because all of your friends will quit. And for me, I've always I've always made friends in the game, like online friends. As I said, I was in the guild. One thing I like to say about the guild that I was in is that we knew each other's last names before Real ID came into the game. We were really good friends. I talk to these people still. Um, it it was really a unique experience, and if I could go back to that time, I probably would. You know, all things considered. Uh, it's like our raid leader was this like big Canadian asshole that would yell at you just for doing the smallest thing wrong, for talking, and you just get screamed at for like hours. And I mean, it was fucking ridiculous. But I mean, you know, that's I guess that's what you got to do to be a top guild. And you know, we were a top guild. I mean, we weren't like the Blood Legion or anything, but we were a pretty high ranked guild. Um, a lot of them have quit. You know, I still talk to them on like Facebook and stuff like that. You know, how's the game? You know, it's all right. You know, maybe some of them come back for like a month, play, and get geared up, and then, yeah, what's the point? You know, and that's the real question I ask myself is, you know, like what's the point? What is the point of playing the game at all? You know, and it's like the core thing obviously is fun. Um, and I derive my fun from playing the game from social interaction. I like to interact with other players. I've played Skyrim. Uh, well, you know, like how they take you to the thing and chop your head off. I got about halfway there and I closed the game. I'm just not as interested in playing a game by myself. I want to play with other people. Um, Mists of Pandaria, even Blizzard has said that World of Warcraft is not a standalone. It can't compete as a standalone for a single player game. So what confuses me is why are they adding all of these single player aspects to the game? Because LFR is a single player game. I have never made a friend through LFR. And honestly, I don't think that I'm a minority. I'm a social butterfly in that game. You know, I talk to people all the time. Definitely a lot more in real life. You know, I'm not a recluse, but you know, I'm not quite as flamboyant as I am in the game. I think a lot of people are like that, you know, and it's not really a good or a bad thing to admit. It's just, you know, it is what it is. And I don't really meet friends in LFR. Everybody's just there, you know, let's do the job. And a lot of it really had to do with the talking in Vent and, you know, like making friends that way. It's like if there's a girl in Vent, you know, there's like always somebody, if she messes up, there's like, you know, one or two dudes, you know, like queuing their mic to defend her. And I mean, it was like, it was great, you know, and it's like, it was stupid too, in a way. Like ICC was out for I think 11 months or something like that. And I really never got bored because it's not the instance that has the replay value, it's the players. And if you go on YouTube right now and you type in, you know, World of Warcraft or anything like that, you know, what are the videos that have the most views? You know, Leroy Jenkins, you know, the Onyxia wipe, and there's a lot of videos that are people raging in Ventrilo and, you know, like Skype and TeamSpeak, you know, back in the day. And that's what people like to see. They want to see a social interaction of, you know, like, you know, nerd brawl. And I don't really get to see that anymore because they've taken out all of the incentives for that to happen. LFR is in a lot of ways killed my incentive to raid on my alts, and has made gearing alts more of a chore. Let me tell you something right now, is that what also was great about Wrath of the Lich King is that it had 4 tiers of rating, whereas Cataclysm and Mists of Pandaria only had 3. I'm gonna say that what's it called? Burning Crusade had 4. You know, as it was like everything up to Magtheridon, and then Serpentrine Caverns and TK, then BT, and what's the other one? Hyjal, and then Sunwell. And so, you know, even though Sunwell was kind of just like an added instance at the end of the expansion, I'm not going to count Ruby Sanctum as a raid though. So Wrath of the Lich King was out for so long, it gave players so much time to gear up and experiment and play with all of these different classes. I had 8 level 80 characters in Burning Crusade, Wrath of the Lich King. I had a friend that started in ICC, and he ended ICC with, you know, about like pretty decent gear, you know, like ICC 25 gear, mostly maybe some heroic pieces, and like 4 other level 80s. And he really loved the game, and he loved to play the game. We'd play all the time. You know, I had a bunch of other friends that I played with then. It was like almost all my friends were playing WoW at that point. And again, it's this social interaction that you get from playing with people that you've never met before, and just the crazy people that you'll meet. And it's so interesting, and it's so fun to me. And it's really disappointing that I don't really get to experience that in the same way that I used to. Open raid is not the same, because open raid is full of faggots. That's all I have to say about open raid. Anyway, the whole thing about playing with your friends and all of that is so vastly trivialized by the game now that there's not as much of incentive to play the game. When I look through my old screenshots, killing Brutalis, you know, pre-nerf, seeing the screenshot, it was like, man, I was in a good guild then. You know, I achieved that. But what makes me want to play the game is the people that were in the raid group. And outside of like basically completely player run events like normal modes are not accessible for most players in the game. And they also, the gear difference is so huge. That's another big thing that, you know, the video is only 22 minutes, so, you know, fuck it, I'll talk about that too. Gear in Burning Crusade, like gear in vanilla, the worst epic gear, I think, for level 60 was item level 60. The best epic gear for level 60 was Atesh and Kel'Thuzad dropped items. I think Saffron also dropped level 90 item level 90 gear. So that's a half again difference, and the real difference between the stats and the gear was pretty minimal. And the damage you could do about well, the best DPS that I ever saw anyone do was I think it was 1,450 or 1,500, and that was a Fury Warrior. And so you take that damage, and then you do the jump up to Burning Crusade, where in Burning Crusade, Tier 3 and Naxxramas gear was still viable up until about, well, there was this Chinese guild that killed Illidan with players in their group wearing Tier 3. And Atesh, the Staff of Atesh, because it gave, this doesn't matter, never mind. Basically, the gear was not as easily replaced. You could still use the gear for very long periods of time. Now, every tier that comes out, every piece of gear I have is replaced. That's it. You know, start from scratch. That's it. Doing that over and over and over and over makes acquiring the gear and having the gear less valuable, less important. And that's really that's a problem. That's not a good thing that all of the gear is replaced immediately. In Burning Crusade, the item level for the heroic gear, I'm trying to remember this, for the heroic gear from 5-mans it only dropped one item in the 5-man, and it took hours to complete, was 105. I think it might have been 110. The item level of Thordile and Kil'jaeden dropped items, and Sunwell Tier 3, or Tier 6, was 146. Now, again, that was a difference of 36 items. 36 item levels. Might have been 34. Can't really math right now. Not a very big difference. Karazhan gear was still viable. There were certain Karazhan items that were the best items all the way through. And there was even a 5-man trinket that was in Matches Terrace. I don't remember what its name was. That was for DPS warriors, the best trinket up until Muru, which is the second to last boss in the game. And go the Wrath of the Lich King. The bottom epic level was 200. So you're already doing a huge jump from 146 all the way up to 200. So it's like that's already a bigger jump that was made even in the entire expansion. That's just being made by gear automatically, just the leveling up process basically of getting gear. So it started at 200. Shadowmourne and Lich King 25 and Halion 25 heroic gear was item level 284. And so and then you go to I've realized this is kind of taking a long time to explain. Cataclysm was like item level 359 when it started. There was the ZG gear, but that was later on. So 359 to 416, not a big difference. In fucking Cataclysm, no, not Cataclysm. We started out at 476, and we're already at 549. And I'm pretty sure the ending gear is going to be about 570, double upgraded, heroic, like Blood-Soaked or whatever, like the Thunderforged version. So, I mean, this is almost like a 200 item level difference. And this consistent scaling up, it basically kills the old gear. And it makes rerunning the instances pointless. There's no reason to run any raid except for Throne of Thunder. Unless you're doing it on Heroic, which is completely non-accessible to pugs. And so you're basically roped into doing one thing a week, every week, and that's it. That's not fun to me. It's not entertaining. Like, oh, well, I can go do battle pets. That can be entertaining. I'm not a big fan, but I think it's great that it's added into the game. I can do... Oh, I can fish up for Nat Pagel so I can buy a hat. I can't even transmog to it. What the fuck? What the fuck? It's an achievement. Like, I don't even have a big problem with that, honestly. But it's just like, it's all those little stupid fucking things. And then, I don't know, it seems like reputations were so hard to get at the beginning in Wrath of the Lich King. Oh, fuck it, just run the instances, get the items, put on the tabard, and you'll get all the items. That was great. That was awesome. And the reason that it's so easy now is the Dungeon Finder. Basically, Blizzard has used it. I'm gonna wrap this video up right now because I gotta take a shit. Okay, so I would say Blizzard has made the added convenience, the increasingly more convenient the game becomes, the increasingly less devoted to the game that people are, because everything else is trivialized. Oh, finding a group, click, I found the group. How is that hard? That finding the group is part of the game. Then they're talking about selling these level up things. I mean, that's fucked. That's fucked. And people, I'll say something right now because this is what I read. That people are saying that, well, because basically Blizzard and Activision bought out Vivendi from the from Blizzard stock, they think this is a good thing. Well, Vivendi has owned Blizzard since 1998, and so that they oversaw Warcraft 3 which is like still popular. I went to the store and it was still on the fucking shelf. I think they oversaw Diablo 2, or yeah, the original Diablo, yeah, Diablo 2. And it's like, so there are all these amazing games that Vivendi oversaw, and Activision joined in with Blizzard in 2008, which was kind of okay, but I think that what's going to happen now, I'm going to give my opinion here, is that I think that there's going to be a lot more items in the game that are for sale. And Activision does this with their other games, and they're going to make it not a free-to-play game, but convenient. You can pay for conveniences, basically. And so it's like you can pay to, what's it called? To level up faster. You can pay for lesser charms. Now, apparently in China, they don't have a subscription. They just play. And I think it's great that they're going to do that in China because that kind of helps them make money. But people pay a subscription because they don't want to play against pay-to-winners. In Diablo 3, there was this dude who paid $20,000 for a mace. I don't have $20,000 to pay for a mace. And he's just automatically more powerful than I am, and I can't really compete. And people say, well, that doesn't really affect the game. It doesn't really affect the game. Well, leveling up, buying something to increase the speed at which you level up does affect the game because leveling up is a part of the game. And you're basically paying money to circumvent an inconvenience in the game. And that bothers me a lot. I don't like that at all. If someone wants to play this game, they should have to level up. Now, they can make the leveling up process easier, or they can, add in all these other things like Recruit a Friend and whatever. It's like people can say, well, Recruit a Friend is kind of the same thing. But then you ask, what about the lesser charms? It's like, so somebody can pay money to have to not do dailies? What does that say about dailies? It's fucked. It's fucked in a lot of ways. And I think that Activision having a bigger say in what Blizzard is going to do could very negatively impact the game. I don't know if it will, but I think that it's very much possible. About whenever Activision bought the game, now it wasn't very long after that they increased they started the Blizzard store items like the Spectral Horse and everything, and I think that they did like a Cenarian hatchling for tsunami relief for Japan. That was great. Like you can, oh, look at this, I donated $10 and I have this little item. That's great. But it's just the more and the more items, and it's like amount doesn't really impact the game. It doesn't matter. Like I have a mount, I have Invincible. It's fucking awesome, but it doesn't make me do more damage. It doesn't make me get anywhere faster. It doesn't do anything. It's just a different pixel thing. That's like the helmets are fucking great. Helmets are awesome. The only problem I have with the helmets is that then they will make more helmets, and then all of a sudden, all of the coolest gear you have to buy from the auction house, or you have to buy from the Blizzard store. That's not a game I want to play, really. That's just not a game I want to play. I want to go back to whenever I would log on and I would try to play with other people and I would talk with other people. That's what I want to do. And I think that's what a lot of other people want to do, and I think a lot of them are the ones that quit. So, maybe nobody will watch the video. It's 35 minutes, so pretty well bet that. But, if anybody watches it, that's going to be good, because, I kind of want to get my opinion out there, because, I've played this game for a very long time. I love World of Warcraft. I love the Warcraft series. As I said, I've played it for over 10 years. And I don't regret it at all. I've enjoyed it every step of the way, and I want to keep enjoying it. And the problem is I see them making choices and decisions that are going to prevent that from happening. And hopefully they can realize that before it does happen. That's the video. Thanks for watching. I'm out.